Hi, my name's Amanda Trout and welcome to Reality Arts Podcast. Each week I will bring you a different insight and inspiration about art, creativity and arts in health. Join me as we step out of our comfort zones, unwrap those hidden gems and move forward in our creative purpose. You're listening to Reality Arts, helping you to increase your creativity and unlock your hidden talents. Hello and welcome to the Stepping Out Bonus Challenge. Today is day 9 and I'll be talking about dementia, a carer's story. So welcome to those of you who are new to the challenge and new to the podcast. For the month of October, I'm doing 31 additional posts. They're bonus posts. I normally post 2 times a week. But for the month of October, I'm looking at different challenges I've done over the years and looking at some of the insights and inspirations that I've got from them. So today I'm going to be talking about dementia and being a carer. And I did a series called The A to Z of Dementia, a Carer's Story. So it's funny when you talk about a challenge within a challenge, but the A to Z challenge that I did in 2012 was probably the first time that I really thought about my situation as a carer and what it meant to me and seeing my mother living with dementia. When you fast forward to 2018, there's so many additional things that I've learned since then, and so many new situations, such as me moving, mum having to go into a home, which I will cover at some time. But what I'm finding is that it takes a while for me to be able to process the emotional impact of that particular situation. So I'm still processing what it means to have mum in a home. And so that will take a bit of time to come out, but it will come out because these are things that we have to talk about. These are the emotions that we have to deal with for us to have inner healing, and also to be able to be a better help to those that we care for. So I never thought about myself in the midst of being a carer, or considered how I really felt. But I knew that I had a job to do, and so I set about doing it the best way I knew how to. So there was no emotional manual. The dementia seemed to catch us off guard. There was no calling card or preparation. I mean, obviously you have the organizations that had information, but it was just like, I don't know, from dealing with it to kind of reading, what somebody says on a blog, and I'm doing the same thing, I guess, but I guess talking about it it helps me. And I know that it's helped other people, but sometimes it's hard to read a booklet of what you should do, as opposed to speaking to somebody who has gone through the same thing, and so can kind of sit down and have a conversation with you. One day, suddenly it seemed like things were different. Mum was acting weird, not glaringly so, but she was saying things that made us wonder briefly, was something up, or, I wonder why mum said that. But we never twigged. We just brushed it off, and I remember thinking, I hope that there is nothing wrong with mum. And I put it to the back of my mind. But I knew that something was off, but I just hoped it was nothing, my father had not too long passed, and it was just like, perhaps she was just dealing and processing that. I remember going up to mum's local chemist to buy something for her, and the pharmacist handed me a shopping bag, and I thought, that's weird, He said mum had forgotten it in the store on Friday, and it was now Tuesday. And I thought to myself, but mum's been getting her prescription here for the longest time. Couldn't you have just dropped it off or, rung her? And I looked in the bag and I could see amongst the shop there was bread, there was a pint of milk, and the milk had curdled. And I thought to myself, why didn't he put it in the fridge? Why couldn't he have rung the house and said? And I thought, that was just so, I just thought, in hindsight, when I think back, there were many people who were on the periphery of mum's life who noted things, who saw things that we were too close to see, but never alerted the family, and they just watched things unfold as if watching a reality TV show, and we were the unknowing participants. I mean, there was even one instance where mum used to go to a daycare centre, and we had somebody at that point, somebody was supposed to be there when mum got home. And it turned out that practically every day this woman was late. Mum would arrive at 4:00, but she would arrive at 4:30. So they would see her, they would either see her come in as they left and drove down the road. So obviously mum was there. They had to let mum in and they had to make sure she was, comfortable, took her coat off. But this woman was late practically all the time. And it wasn't until something else happened with this lady, and I was saying to them, these things have been happening. And they turned around and said, oh yeah, well, she's normally late anyway. And I was just like, why didn't you say? And it was just like, oh, we didn't want her to get into trouble. And it was just like, but mum is the priority. And it was just such a difficult time, knowing that people knew things but didn't say. And the whole thing was hard to deal with. My son was 5 at the time, and I would have to deal with the emotional impact of mum not wanting us to leave, when we'd go and visit at the weekend. So Sunday we would, be getting ready to go home, and she didn't want us to leave. I didn't want to leave, but I had to. My son had to go to school, or there was nursery at one point, and I had to go to work and university. And I just prayed that whatever was happening would just go away and mum would be safe. But it didn't go away, and I had to start staying with her as she couldn't be left on her own. So mum lived about 45 minutes away from me, and that, was becoming difficult because I would then, so my son had started school, and I was then leaving at about 7:00 to get to mum's. My son was getting ready for bed, and it was just like, he was saying, mum, why do you have to go? Why can't you stay here? And it was just like, mum needs me. Mum needed me and he needed me. And it was just like, it was a horrible situation to deal with. And I think I felt several things. I felt responsible that I had to I had to look after mum. I wanted to look after mum. I didn't want her to be on her own. And I felt annoyed because part of me didn't want to take on this role, this carer's role. And over the years, there were many inner casualties that I had to deal with as I tried to navigate being a carer and holding on to who I was. So I began writing, and it was an outlet for me. And I had so many things to say about how I felt, so many things that I had learned. And it was good to get things down on paper and to begin to process. And I feel that whatever your situation is, it's important to find others that you can share your story with, as the inner stresses can often lead to outward physical symptoms that manifest, from the stress of not talking about how it's affecting you, things like ulcers, growths, cancers even. I mean, stress is such it can be such a killer. And it's something that we have to meet head on, and we have to deal with. We have to find outlets for. So part of doing the A to Z challenge helped me put things down that I thought not only helped me, but could help others as well. And not just in my local area, but from around the world. And as I posted on my blog, I would have, comments from people who were all around the world who, said how this helped them, or they had been dealing with the same thing, and they were able to share and comment and, start the process for themselves. So check out some of the posts on the blog. There are several posts connected to the dementia carer's story, and as I say, I go through the A to Z: A for Alzheimer's, B for behaviours, C for carer, D for dependent, and so on. And I will continue sharing tomorrow, and I'd love you to come back and spend some time. Tomorrow I'm going to look at some resources that I've brought that I found that was useful, and other things that I've been doing as a result of, sharing my story and just trying to be present in the moment. So are you, or have you been a carer, and what is your experience been like? Do you know somebody who is a carer or has been a carer? Have you spoken to them about it? Have you talked about your own situation? Who have you shared with? Are you the sort that would ask for help, or do you do it all yourself? Do you keep everything locked in? We cannot carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, on ourselves, and sometimes in your stepping out, you have to ask for the help that you need. So as I said, tomorrow I'll share the second part from my carer's story, and I hope during this month that you find time to challenge the way you currently do things. Try and be creative and stretch yourself out of your comfort zone. So why not join me each day for the rest of October as we dive into some exciting challenges and look at ways in which they can impact on your life. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. It's never too late to start. The main thing is to take one step at a time and do something that you find interesting. So check out some of the resources that I've listed on the blog. I'll list them down here in the profile, and I look forward to seeing you. So take care for now. Thank you for listening to this week's podcast. You can check me out on my blog or YouTube channel for more creative insights, videos, and reviews. Stay blessed and be a blessing.